Good morning, VC sir. Can we start now? It's just 11 o'clock.
Yes, we can start now. Let me welcome Dr. Chakrabarti and all our participants in the UM-IEM group. So I will request our anchor, Dr. Kriti Sharkar, to immediately start the program.
Thank you so much, sir, for that kind introduction. A very good morning, respected Director, sir, of IEM and Chancellor UEM, Dr. Satyajit Chakrabarti, Vice Chancellor of UEM, Dr. Shajul Dasgupta, Pro Vice Chancellor UEM, Dr. Satyajit Chakrabarti, Principal, Deans of various disciplines, Registrar, and all faculty members of IEM UEM Group. It's a moment of immense honor for me to be introducing our Honorable Governing Board member, Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti, for the webinar on happiness in harrowed times. Dr. Chakrabarti is a doctorate in applied energy from the Cranfield Institute of Technology, United Kingdom, after having completed his Master of Science in Energy Conservation and Environment from the same institution. Prior to that, he completed PG Diploma in Production Management from Jadavpur University and Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering from the same university. Professionally, he had served as the head of Research Application, Research and Development Tata Steel from 2008 to 11. He was the technologist, coated products, flat product technology group of Tata Steel from 2001 till 2008. He had delivered his knowledge as a lecturer of mechanical engineering from Jadavpur University, Kolkata from 1976 to 78. He was also the visiting professor of production engineering, Jadavpur University from 84 to 87. Dr. Chakrabarti has delivered talks at the training course on energy conservation for TSE in 2011 in Europe. He had been one out of 3 Best Innovative Project Awards in Innovista International Competition among 1762 entries from global Tata Group companies in 2009. He had been awarded MD's Award for Best Research and Development Project in the year 2003. He has been one out of 8 Best Knowledge Practitioners in Tata Steel, also awarded with MD's Apex Level Award in 2005. Dr. Chakrabarti had been the receiver of Jagdish Chandra Bose National Science Talent Search Scholarship in the year 1967 to 72. He holds 3 patents by his name. Dr. Chakrabarti was also involved in the TAQIP project as an eminent advisor of the West Bengal state government. He is the elected fellow of the Institute of Energy, London, and Chartered Engineer, United Kingdom, for the years 1994 to 2004. He is also the elected fellow of the Institution of Engineers, India, from 1994 to 2006, and CE, member of the Research Council of CMERI, Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute of Durgapur. Dr. Chakrabarti had worked with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, AP Mitra, DG CSIR from the years 1988 to 1991. I am proud and privileged to inform that the Defense Materials and Stores Research and Development Establishment, DMSRDE, has appointed Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti, former head Tata Steel, R&D Jamshedpur, and our honorable board member as an honorary visiting scientist for DMSRDE for the years 2020 till 2022. He will function as an advisor of DRDO labs in defining its R&D and S&T programs. establishing important national and international collaborations, organize and represent in national and international conferences to review and finalize the scientific, technical, and technological documents, publications, and monographs, and many other important assignments. We all are happy and would like to congratulate Dr. Chakrabarti for his great recognition. It's a moment of pride for all of us here at IEM-UEM Group to have amongst us such a luminary personality. Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti today is to deliver his speech on the much needed talk of the hour titled Happiness in Harrowed Times. Sir, we welcome you and I would request you to take over the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kriti. Thank you very much. I hope Sangeeta is around, but I believe I can operate my slides. There are 20 slides for the 45-minute to 1 year talk. I believe that's fine, and it can go to. Am I presenting? Just tell me if I have to change the slides.
Already, yes, sir. I guess it's visible for all.
I couldn't get you clearly.
Yes, sir. Your presentation is visible, sir.
Okay. Now, shall I be changing by page down comment, or you can do it?
Sir, I'll do it.
Please, thank you. I'll just give you a signal, finally. Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to the formal addressing of all the people present here. Don't go to the next slide. Just let the first slide be there on the screen. Yes. Okay. Let me start. The temperature of Jamshedpur from where I am speaking today is around 18 degrees centigrade. It's foggy, it's cloudy, it's about 5 past 11 in the morning, and the humidity is around 45 to 50%. Today's date is 16 January. My height is 5 feet 9 inches or 175 centimeters. The wind speed today is around 2 kilometers per hour or 3 kilometers per hour. All these facts, all these figures denote the categorical specific values of points, what we call as point functions. Can we go to the first slide, please? Now, temperature, pressure, volume, rainfall, wind speed, all these in generic terms or in terms of thermodynamics are known as point functions which have specific values. But from these point functions, if I shift my focus to how much distance I travel from here to Kolkata by train, by car, by plane, that is a function of the path I take. Those who are familiar with thermodynamics or the basics of elementary physics, we know that work done is a function of the trajectory followed during work done. Those who are a little bit deeper into metallurgy or engineering will know it for sure that heat treatment is entirely a path-dependent function. Whether you are heating it very fast or soaking it for a long time or cooling it down very fast or very slowly, that will dictate the microstructure or the properties of the material that I have subjected to this heat treatment. These are categorical path functions, functions that depend on the path it takes. Next slide, please. Now, if we talk about happiness, is it a goal? Is it a point function that, yes, my happiness X, Y, Z degree, or kilograms, or meter, kilometer, whatever it is? Or is it a path function? Let me be very clear, and I think most of us will agree, most of you will agree with me that happiness is not a particular destination to reach. Happiness, by default, by nature, is a path function. That means it depends on the path it takes. And as Professor Shajol Dasgupta knows, possibly so does Dr. Isha Prasad from Kanpur, who is also present, who has graced the occasion by being present in my talk, the director of DMSRDE. My affinity, my addiction, my attachment to Rabindranath, I keep on quoting him, sometimes with translation, sometimes with your permission, without translation in my mother tongue. When Rabindranath wrote that I enjoy my walking along the path, Amar ei path cholate anando. That means I enjoy the walking, the journey, the trajectory. And I believe that the beginning of today's lecture lays the basic foundation that happiness is not a destination. It is an experience of our journey. Many of us would agree, many of us are familiar with this concept. Let me go slowly deeper into it. If I go a bit into the depths, or rather there is this Google, omnipotent, omnipowerful Google to help us all. If you put happiness, I find that there are... Sorry? Did somebody say anything? No. Okay. Now, I found that by clicking happiness onto the Google string, there are 80,000 books on happiness from Amazon, 140 crores or 1,400 million entries on happiness, and there are 2,700 million, 270 crores quotation on happiness. The sheer number scares us. That means that it has been a continuous pursuit and continuous seeking for this concept in every sphere of human life. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk of happiness, I believe there are quite a number of small words, short words, which we often use very loosely, synonymously, but they are not the same. You can see them on the screen. He is having fun, he is having joy, he is having satisfaction, he is having pleasure, he is content, and he is delighted. These are all subsets of happiness, but they are not identical. I just pondered and mused, and I found that when I observe a football match or cricket match, I am definitely enjoying having fun. And if my favorite team wins, I will definitely have joy. Now, while sitting in a steaming summer day by a swimming pool and sipping cold coffee, what we experience is pleasure. That's not joy. That's not happiness. Now, when we do a job well, God willing, if this lecture goes off well, I will have satisfaction. And then contentment. This term is a more saturated form of internal satisfaction, which stems from being happy without any external joy, without any external expression. Contentment is a saturated state of satisfaction, being happy without any external show-off. Whereas delight rather shows off. I'm delighted. A big grin, a warm hug, and closed eyes enjoying, oh, really, I'm delighted. All these are subtle shades, subtle forms of happiness. I would rather call them, rather than forms, I would call them derivatives of happiness. Next slide, please. Now, going back almost 90 years, there was a gentleman in UK, United Kingdom, called Bertrand Russell, a philosopher, a mathematician, and a thought leader who in 1933 wrote a book called Conquest of Happiness. And that book is still so much valid. He might not have been able to note down the recent causes of unhappiness in people all over the world today, but definitely the basic precepts, the basic theories that he had propounded, what he had written down in the book, roots of unhappiness, roots of happiness, and a general study of the human society and the general trend are so much relevant and practical today. First, just enter. Just one by one, the points will appear. The common causes of happiness, unhappiness. Rather than happiness, we start with looking at the roots of unhappiness. And this unhappiness, if we can identify them properly, that will help us to prevent our energy, our zest to drain down, and we can possibly move closer to the concept of happiness. Illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, serious illness, even a common cold with lots of sneezing and coughs and closed nose and running nose, all of them are irritants, and they prevent us from being happy or prevent us from engaging in meaningful activity. No doubt about it. And also, in case of serious illness, there is a financial burden on the person concerned. No doubt about it. I'm not going into the medical insurance problem. Then comes poverty, lack of sufficient funds, savings, income, daulat, earnings, salary. But then again, how much is enough is again a debatable issue. How much is the minimum with which we can be happy and content? Not going there either. But I remember a Sanskrit famous shloka, I don't know the origin, I don't remember, but definitely it says that if a student or somebody who is serious in the pursuit of life follows literature, kavya, then definitely songs and light refreshments kills that interest in literature and kavya. Kavyam gitena hanyate. And then he goes a step ahead where he says that gitancha sri vilashena. That means company of the opposite sex takes away our interest from geet, kavya, literature and songs and music and light refreshments. But finally he ends up with a maxim, with a strong phrase saying, Sarvam hanti daridrata. Kavya, geet, wealth, everything is eaten away by poverty. No doubt about it. Third point, disharmony, lack of harmony, balance between workplace and home, lack of balance in workplace, lack of balance at home, keeping all contributing and non-contributing factors at bay or at an optimum level. This is disharmony. Fatigue, where again Rabindranath sings the song, "Oh fatigue, oh tiredness, forgive me, Klanti amar khama karo Prabhu." Because he knew, and we all know, that fatigue, if it is mental fatigue in particular, then it drains off our energy and prevents us from being happy. But so long it is physical fatigue, born out of my physical labor all throughout the day, either by digging up my garden or by helping the house to be reoriented or moving house, then there is a physical fatigue, and that helps us to get good sleep. No doubt about it. So physical fatigue is much more preferable to mental fatigue. And today, mental fatigue or mental stress, we'll come to know about it a little bit later when we talk about the biological basis of fatigue and how it affects our happiness later. Boredom. Now, boredom is something which we are all scared of, especially the younger generation. They get bored very easily. And boredom is a frustrated state of mind for lack of something happening. Good or bad, something is not happening. And this is absolutely aptly described by the picture we used to see in restaurants, in gatherings where 10, 15, 20 people, 80% of them are busy with this particular gadget, looking down. And very recently I saw a WhatsApp clip where it said, I don't know whether it's true or not, in one of these European countries, that they charge 10% less if there is no usage of smartphone in the restaurant. I'm not sure whether it is true or not. But then again, on the flip side of boredom, there is lack of leisure, pure leisure. Now, if we don't get time to recreation, then naturally we are more fatigued mentally. I don't have to give examples how many of us, many of you, many we know, waste their truthful, meaningful time in forwarding meaningless, non-genuine, unauthentic messages. I am tempted to quote, I'm sure 80% of you had received that particular WhatsApp text, and I got it from a principal of a college, which said that please share this message. In 823 years, it happens only once. What is that? That if you add your age to your date of birth, you arrive at 2020. Oh God, nobody knew that. Your year of birth plus your age brings you to the current year. And it was sent to me by one of my college professor friends. And when I went back to the person and explained, then the person was very sorry. Now, envy is something which is the most deep-rooted and universally potent cause of unhappiness. In Sanskrit, we call it irsha. And in different forms, it is present in men and women. A beggar does not envy a millionaire. A millionaire envies a billionaire. But the beggar envies another beggar because their receipt, he gets more alms, he is more blessed by the seekers of God's blessings. And the millionaire thinks that he will be unhappy until and unless he becomes a billionaire. We are no exceptions. I have seen during my service life, which ended 2011, that during the annual appraisal and when the letter of increment used to come, we knew that something I'm going to get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, whatever it is. I'm not delighted by that letter of increment or the amount that I got as an annual increment. I am more interested in knowing how much X got, how much did Y get, how much did Z get. So it is how much my peers are getting dictate whether I will be happy or unhappy. If I get 10,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees as increment, I will still be unhappy if I know the person sitting next to me has got 55,000. Common philosophy, common mental setup. And I am tempted to narrate a short, very small anecdote from my experience of half a century ago when I was a student in England for higher studies. As the long introduction Kriti read about me said, I was a bit bored about the total list, a bit uncomfortable as well. I remember very well, there was a family, Indian of course, where family X possessed a wonderful, costly china cutlery set. Bone china cutlery set. One fine morning, after they acquired that particular costly set, the lady of the household came home from a visit and took one by one all the cutleries and threw it on the ground and broke them one after another. the entire cutlery set, maybe 100 pounds at that point of time, absolutely became zero. Why? Because when her husband asked, "What are you doing, darling?" she said, "We had it till now, but we went to XYZ's house and I found she also has the same set. Why should she?" Very, very unhealthy, unfair comparison. But who suffered? The lady herself and the family. So what I possess doesn't make me happy. What others possess in relation to me makes me happy or unhappy. Avoidable comparisons with others very often lead to lack of appreciation of what we get in life. Going back to Rabindranath again, where he says, "Don't cry for sunlight at night. You will miss the stars. রাত্রে যদি সূর্য শোকে ঝরে অশ্রুধারা, রাত্রে যদি সূর্য শোকে ঝরে অশ্রুধারা, সূর্য ফিরে আসে না কো, ব্যর্থ হয় তারা." You will miss the stars. And today the management gurus say there are books, umpteen number of books, which says, count your blessings. Count your blessings. Next. The second point, no, not the next slide. I mean the next bullet. Go back to the last slide, please. Yeah. Fear of public opinion. I'm doing something which I think my conscience says I am right. I'm the right track. I'm doing as my conscience says, and I know it doesn't harm anybody. But if there is a mental setup which says, "Arey, if you do this, then he or she may be displeased and it will have a bad repercussions." So naturally we refrain from doing the thing and then keep on contemplating, "Kya karna chahiye? What should I have done?" And this often prevents us from being our own self. Again, not Rabindranath this time, but a famous Hindi song which says, "Kuch to logo kahenge, logo ka kaam hai kahna." People will say that's their habit, that's their nature. They will keep on saying and criticizing. So don't be afraid of people's opinion if you are in the right track. And if you remember the next stanza of that particular line, it says in a nutshell, "Chodo vikar ki baati." Don't pay attention to these useless musings and comments. The next point is sense of sin, paap bodh. What I'm doing is not proper. Isme paap hoga. Ete paap hobe. And on the other side of this one, I would like to extrapolate this one to a particular term which Bertrand Russell used, which is called persecution mania. I am the victim of all ruts of people. People victimize me and I am at the receiving end all the time. This is a deep-rooted, deep-seated mental problem which is very difficult to cure. This sometimes comes from too much expectation from others. In matters of service, he should have done that, she should have helped me, they should have come forward, something of that kind. But on the worse front, it often says that, "Hey, I am sitting here, nobody called me. I know that they are trying to avoid me." And then all sorts of peculiar things, absolutely picking up from the sky, from the heaven, and collecting all sorts of garbage dumped onto myself by myself. This is a disease many of us suffer from time to time. On the other hand of this one, there is this overconfidence that I am the king of the world. Neither of them is the right thing to do. Next slide, please. Russell pressed the button one after another slowly as I go. Always the roots of happiness are, okay, the first, press the button, Sangeeta, please. Yeah. There are some people who are happy by default. They don't need any external impetus, any kind of incentive. They are always happy. They are always smiling. They keep on rushing whenever there is a call for help for somebody. And I remember a couple of cases from my close circle of friends. A couple of them I remember immediately. And they just run amok literally whenever they keep on hearing, "Arey, he is in need. Chalo." Be it to the burning hut, be it to the hospital, be it to the station, be it to receive, be it to see off, without any expectation. Who is going to deprive him from happiness? He generates happiness by helping others without expecting. And all of us do some kind of charity at times. These are not charities. Some of us do a little bit of dan or donation. But then again in Sanskrit it says, Diyate anupokarine. Give the money or donate something to somebody who is not going to benefit you. Don't expect anything in return. So there are people who are happy by default. They are born with a happy gene. Next. Very important. I'm not asking you to be a Leonardo da Vinci, but definitely an engineer who is just an engineer is a bad engineer. If you have varied interests, 1, 2, 3, maybe only one, apart from your profession, apart from your interest, apart from your attachment, you are bound to be happier than many. I remember one of my school friends, Dr. Utpal Shannath. He was a cancer scientist in Chittaranjan Cancer Hospital. He is now retired at the same age as mine. He lives in somewhere in Calcutta, North Calcutta. This gentleman, he is a leader of anti-smoking campaign in India. And at the same time, this gentleman has an amazing collection of 3,000 or 4,000 matchboxes all over the world. No relation to cancer science, no relation to biotechnology, biochemistry, anything of that kind. In addition to that, Utpal has a collection of 50 or 100 birds' nests. No relation to cancer, but he thrives in that. He enjoys that. And of late, about 6 months back, Utpal told me, "Shantanu, Arey, you know that I saw a dream of, I dreamt you last night, and I think I had the same dream in 1994. I said, "How do you know?" "Oh, for the last 40 years, all my dreams are documented." Oh, God, is it a human feature? I mean, how could he do that? But anyway, the base point is having varied interests. Having varied interests. Painting, music, matchbox, philately, kite flying, writing stories. But when I get some biodata CV for possible employment, when he says that reading newspaper is my hobby or my interest, or watching TV is my interest, I feel pity. I feel simply pity. Next point, please. Zest. Possibly this is translated in Hindi by the word Josh. Yet another ingredient in achieving and retaining happiness. And here I remember another great son of India out of the world, who is none other than Swamiji or Swami Vivekananda. He said, he wrote, and I think in Paribrajuk or one of these other books, famous books, Prachyo Paschattu. The famous books, I think one of them he wrote, work hard, work hard, work harder, work hardest. Be pious, khub khato, povitro ho, utshaher agun apni jole utbe. The fire of your enthusiasm will ignite itself. Don't give up. Don't give up. मेहनत करो, ज़्यादा मेहनत, कड़ा मेहनत करो, आग आप से आप जलेगा. So this zest, this passion. Now the question automatically comes, can I do it myself if I am demotivated? If I am laying absolutely laid-back attitude with a laid-back attitude, can I activate myself? Can I motivate myself? Can I be a seeker of happiness? My sole mission in life is being happy. Is that acceptable? Possibly, possibly not. We'll come to that. Next point, please. Affection. This particular sentiment, this particular word relates to our close circle, to our family, to our closed ones, to respect, to closeness, to proximity. And if we value our parents, if we value our children, give time to them without expecting anything, then it is fairly likely, it's very much likely that we will be able to get back affection that will make our life happier without fail. And it is all the more important for the younger percentage of today's audience today to pay maximum possible attention, to spend maximum possible time with their family, especially the children, to prove to them, to make them understand that we are with them so that they are confident and they don't have to face diffidence, they don't have to face indecision in life, they are aware of their roots in life, they can come back to the roots when it is necessary and face the world which is turning more and more violent, more and more nasty, more and more dangerous day by day. Affection is a function of my close network, and unless we give respect and space to our close ones, we don't get it back. Next. Engagement of choice, very important. If you like what you do, if we don't always get to do what we like, but if we can like what we do, then definitely this is an engagement of choice. I am a retired person, so are a couple of other audience, one of my close friends. I can see Paruntab Chaudhary, I can see Professor Deepak Chaudhary as well. Those of you who are retired, they can definitely make it a buffet dinner. When people ask me often that, how are you in your retired life? Don't you find it boring? I said, no, my life is much more colorful now because it's no longer a fixed menu dinner where I have to take mixed vegetables and dahi vada and chapati or puri. I can pick up my fish fry of choice. I can pick up rabdi if it is there, or gajar ka halwa, whatever I like. So if you are fortunate enough to engage yourself in jobs you love to do, talks you love to give, hobbies you like to engage in, you are definitely bound to be happier than many. Next. Inclusion. Who doesn't include? Who doesn't want it? Right from my granddaughter of 2 years to the late Rusi Modi, who died around the age of 90, everyone wants inclusion, recognition. Bangla amra jake boli patta dewa. Somebody who would recognize me, yes, would appreciate what I am doing. Include in decision making. That's what I have shared with Professor Shardul Dasgupta of UEM number of times. Then if you have suggestion scheme in your college, then try to include your student members, some responsible ones, in giving suggestions, in implementing some of the suggestions that will make them feel important. Everyone wants that. Next. I don't have to stress this. The doctors are saying time and again, everybody, physical exercise. The particular quote I used from Vivekananda, physical exercise, is the other side of it. Mehnat karo, that means activate yourself, keep yourself active. If it is not a gymnasium session, let it be just walking. And it definitely gives you a lot of favorable hormones, oxytocin, serotonin, you have good sleep, and you get sunlight, which the scientists say before 10 o'clock and after 3 o'clock in the afternoon during summer or during the midsummer days, it's beneficial for the body to retain them. And a recent study, I can guarantee and I can vouchsafe say that being in the sunlight for 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day being in the open sunlight reduces our appetite and stops us from eating more and more. This has been a formal study and it makes your life healthier and naturally one step forward towards happier. Next. This is on the right-hand column. In such times, the harrowing times, I think the harrowed times is not grammatically correct. It should be harrowing times, the times which are demanding and disturbing. Though the intensity of the COVID and corona attack has come down to some extent and vaccination has started, I believe in the initial days of quarantine, and even when we are by ourselves, being careful about using masks and sanitization and distance. Mask zaruri, do gaz ka duri. It is important to have a look at the list of the bullets. Reading, listening to music of your choice. Next. Learning new trades. The first one is digitization. I never experienced talking onto computer and loading the presentation myself, or attending to chats or questions, or posting a question in a chat session when I am a listener. But these are small things that I have added to my learning basket. And for younger ones, you can do a lot, many things which definitely would lead us to an enriched life. Next. This is again a point which I will come back later with much details. Doing less with less. The food bill for our family of two has definitely come down in the last few months. Whatever we have at home, initially in the first 3, 4, 5 months, we used to manage with that. Rather than going to the big bazaar kind of thing for buying in bulk, we used to pick up small amounts from the local grocery shop just next door, and we used to be happy, completely happy. So doing less with less is definitely repeating Mahatma Gandhi's quote, where he said, live simply so that others can simply live. Whatever we have. And definitely from the standpoint of economy, empathy, environment, definitely this doing with less helps us in being happier. Next. Reaching out. I am sure all of you in your smartphone have got 500 or more number of contacts. It could be 100, it could be even 1,000 also. I don't want to question the numbers. Out of that, maybe 5 to 10% are much older than us. 75, 80, 85. My mother-in-law is still alive, active, more or less, in Kolkata. She's 97, nearly 97. I'm not asking you to find out one by one, but definitely there are people who are much old, and that particular inclusion factor, remembrance factor. I used to return the good wishes on my birthday or on New Year's Day by writing, to remember is a pleasure. To be remembered is a delight. To remember is a pleasure. To be remembered is a delight. So why don't you find out a list of people whom you can reach out and just phone call? How are you, madam? How are you, sir? I was missing. You don't have to say I miss you, but I was remembering you after a long time. Makes a hell of a lot of difference. We all know that. Somebody whom we have never thought for years together, ages, and there is a call from him or her. This is called a reward predictor. In neuroscience terms, this is called a reward predictor. I will come to that with a slide later in this presentation. It's now 11:40. I will have another maybe 15 minutes. Reach out to people you know. Next. Caring and listening to people whom you can meet or on telephone. I know one of our very close acquaintances. She is not a neighbor. She lives about 10, 15 kilometers away. She is around 84. Her husband died about a couple of years ago. He was also very close to us. And when I phone her up and talk for about 10 minutes, she says that it makes my day, because I was listening to what her problems are. What was life like for her when she was with her husband? And caring for people who are around. Maybe caring with a cup of tea. The other day, the complex which we live in Ashiana Woodlands in Jamshedpur, I found during those quarantine days of COVID-19, I found a car coming near the gatehouse, and then a gentleman in his 60s comes out with a big thermo flask and a small katori, bar, and not katori, kullar, and then serving tea to all the security staff and all the jharudars and many laborers that were working. It maybe cost him 15, 20 rupees. But the people were so happy around, caring. Small acts makes a lot of difference. Next. Sharing needs. If it is possible to help, offer your help to somebody, can I go? I'm going to the market. Can I bring something for you? We all know that. I don't have to reiterate. Sharing thoughts with people of same frequency. Yes, I was thinking about this one. So you know the kind of people you are aware of. I mean, you know. And you know with whom you have to share needs or share your thoughts. Next. This is something which I have especially included in today's lecture. And I'm grateful to the journal Time magazine when there was a cover story on optimism bias. People think that they are realistic. I am very practical, but really we are more optimistic than realistic. And this is called optimism bias. That means I believe future would be better than the current thing, or everything will be good. I know that it doesn't happen always, but we always tend to feel that future would be better. In India, the death toll is around 110,000 today. It's 2 million all over the world. 10 crores people in 220 countries in the world are affected. And we know all of us in the gathering today are aware of people in the close circle of our family, friends, and acquaintances who have lost their lives, couldn't see the dead bodies, couldn't go for cremation. Some are absolutely unfortunate, some were very old. We all know that. But still, if somebody asks me, if I ask myself, what about your family? I will be all right. This is hope, hoping against hope. And I believe all of you know, at least some of you definitely know, the questions that Yaksha asked Yudhishthir, that what is faster than wind? He said, mind. And in that sequence, Yudhishthir was also asked that what is the strangest thing in the world? Yudhishthir said that people are dying every day in hundreds, thousands, and millions. Still, we think we will not die. Death is not for me. Famous Mahabharata Upakhyan, we all know that. So we are still optimistic about our family because this is the triumph of hope over experience. And several studies in the United States and Europe have proved that optimist people are hard workers. Work harder, they look to the future, they are healthier, they live longer because their brain processes the available information but overrides with a ray of hope, with a ray of some chemical secretion somewhere that I will be all right, I will take care of it. Next. Cancer patients survive longer if they are optimistic. Several studies have proved that. I know a very close case in my family where my first cousin at the age of 73 was diagnosed with terminal cancer in peritoneum. That was in 2013 or 14. The cancer hospital in Thakurpukur, Kolkata said, the doctor took me aside out of the room and said, there is no hope. He needs 9 chemotherapies, but he will hardly take 3, but this cancer has spread widely. That was in 2013, December, if I remember correctly, or 14 December. And then the chemotherapy started. But the gentleman my first cousin, used to call him Tata, he was so hopeful always, so positive, so dynamic, and he was a medical MD doctor by profession, so helpful. He, instead of 3 chemotherapies, he went through 46 chemotherapies. He survived for 4 more years. He ultimately died in 2018, July. But I have seen it with my own eyes, that positive attitude and the hope and involvement and engagement of activities of choice prolong the life. So which proves our brains are not cast by past only. It is continuously being programmed continuously by the future. This is a peculiar chemistry of the brain, where our hippocampus in the brain works towards it. Sangita, I find that the total number of listeners is varying between 67 to 74. Some of them are leaving, some of them are coming back. I need not bother about that, but it's something really is possible. I don't know whether I'm going on absolutely one of the factors of boredom. I'm just boring with my talks. I'm not sure. Our brains are not cast by past, but programmed continuously by the future. I will come to a slide of the brain cross-section, and then we will have a look at the particular parts of the brain which are dependent, which really affect this particular area of function of our mindset. The scientists are saying that in the human genes, thank you, Mr. Arun Mishra, the human gene is genetically programmed in human evolution to be optimistic. And our memory, I warn all of you, don't ever think that the memory is a record keeper. Memory is never a record keeper. Memory takes the facts and the inputs and deletes some and puts some extra inputs and makes a package of its own design. And with permission for people who don't understand Bengali, I would quote again Rabindranath from DMSRDE, where he says, I will translate it to my best of my ability, which says, best of my ability, I'll try to translate. DMSRDE says, Rabindranath writes, স্মৃতির পটে জীবনের ছবি কে আঁকিয়া যায় জানি না, কিন্তু যেই আঁকুক সে ছবিই আঁকে। সে আপনার অভিরুচি মতন কত বড়কে ছোট করে, সে ছোটকে বড় করে, বস্তুত তাহার কাজই ছবি আঁকা, ইতিহাস লেখা নয়। Now, when I'm reading this article in Time and find that the scientists have opined that memory is not a record keeper, it mixes its inputs with its own and deletes some, I find that Rabindranath hasn't read this article, but have they, the scientists, read Rabindranath and wrote those specific lines? I don't know, but definitely don't depend on our memory, because memory is a peculiar chemistry. Next slide. This is a rough structure of the brain from my neuroscientist son, who gave me this particular section, and he said this is a transverse section. He tried to explain what I call transverse section. That means if I cut my head, of course, touch wood, like this, absolutely horizontal, parallel to the horizontal plane, then this is what we'll see. So right brain, left brain, and on the right-hand side, you can see a small portion called amygdala. And on the left hand, towards the left hand bottom, there is something called hippocampus. This hippocampus processes our memory and helps us look forward to. We can travel between now, past, and present. And anybody who has lost his memory or has the hippocampus not working properly will not be able to remember the past or paint the picture of future. This amygdala, this particular small part of our brain at the base, processes our emotions, our energy level. And there are hormones like oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, which activate different parts of our brain activities. And our energy level depend on them, and definitely it is not a tablet-oriented cure or therapy. There are plenty of lifestyle changes which help us to activate ourselves more and to be happier by choice. On the right-hand bottom, there are three words: Elizabeth Blackburn and telomeres. Now, those of you who are interested, kindly look it up later. Elizabeth Blackburn. She got a Nobel Prize in 2009 in physiology or medicine. That's the particular domain in which the Nobel Prize is given, physiology or medicine. And her theory and her research was on fighting aging. And she found that there are some chromosomes, their ends protected by a particular hormone called telomerase. And those end caps of the genes, of the chromosomes, are called telomeres. Now the length of telomeres in our brain are activated, or rather aggravated or affected badly, adversely, by cortisols, the chemical that our body generates when it is under stress. If we are mentally stressed, the body generates cortisols. Now these cortisols affect the length of the telomeres. Now these telomeres, with their end caps known as telomerase, are protected by the hormone telomerase, help us to retain our vitality and fight aging. And she gives us reference to a University of California study where they prove that there are several lifestyle changes, one of them being very, very common, of meditation every day. This is not our work, but the work of a California University team. 12 minutes a day meditation, sitting quietly, thinking about one thing. You don't have to think about God. Thinking about one thing in focus, that helps to control and to prevent the decaying of the telomeres. You can look it up in the net: hippocampus, amygdala, Elizabeth Blackburn, and definitely I am sure those of you who are keen and have the passion to know more will be benefited. Next slide, please. I was talking about, yes, press. I think you can press the enter button. Reward predictor and prediction error. If at the end of the year, I know that I will be getting a paycheck and a certain increment XYZ amount, I know that I am getting an expected reward. The neuron doesn't fire, the dopamine doesn't work, it fires very weakly. So I am happy. I am unhappy if I don't get it, but when I'm getting what I expected, there is the expectation and the reality match. So not much of excitement or happiness. Next, but if receiving an unexpected reward, that with my increment letter, that there is a bonus, special bonus or a special promotion letter, there's a delta. The difference between expectation and what I get is huge. The dopamine signal fires and definitely happiness increases. So that means the delta between expectation and the receipt is what controls our happiness. Now, what can we do next? Reduce the expectation. The delta prediction error is bound to be high. This is a neurological explanation which I received from our neuroscientist son. So the happiness quotient goes up. Next point. Next slide, please. Yes, don't press. Now, while in the previous slide, I am indebted to our son, who is a neuroscientist. For this particular slide, I'm indebted to my late father, Professor Transverse Chakrabarti, who was a philosopher by profession. He was a professor of philosophy in Presidency College. He used to give this analogy, and I find it immensely relevant. I'm drawing towards the close of my lecture. Fine, press the first one. Press the first button. If I divide 500 with 50, I get a quotient of 10. Now, if I ask you to increase the value of the quotient without touching 500, press the next button. You can do is reduce the divisor. Divide by 25, the quotient goes to 20. Next, further, don't touch 500. Divide by 5, you get 100. Next, divide by 1, you get 500. We all know that. Reduce the quotient divisor, you same dividend, you have quotient going up and up and up. Don't press the last button, don't. Now, very simple. If we can reduce our expectations, doing less with less, then definitely our happiness quotient is bound to increase. I know this automatically leads to the dilemma that is ambition then a curse? Can an ambitious person be never happy? I'm not going into that details of that debate now, but definitely reducing the expectation takes back to from my father to my son, where it says that if the reward predictor, if the expectation is less, if the delta goes high, because I expect less, I get more, I will be happy. I know it sounds theoretical, but in many cases of life, we can apply this. You can try it later. Next point, press the button, Sangeeta, please. If you divide by 0, if you have no expectation, does the quotient go to infinity? Undefined. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. But definitely, the more you reduce, the higher the satisfaction goes. Next slide, please. I am shifting my focus and wind up my lecture with examples of 3 countries of the world which are rated by a Nat Geo, National Geographic study, to be the happiest in the world: Costa Rica, Denmark, and Singapore. Without going into the detailed stories, I will just list the features so that I can finish off in another 5 minutes. Press the button first. Costa Rica. This country is known for pleasure. All along their history, they elected teachers as presidents. Primary education has been made compulsory, especially for girl children, for the last 150 years. Costa Rica. Universal health care for all. The health workers go from house to house, prescribe medicines, and at a minimal cost or no cost do that. So the preventive checkups help. Preventive checkups help to increase the life expectancy from 60 to 80. Heart attack rates have fallen drastically. There is no country, no army for the country. The mothers are not worried that their children have to serve the army. And they live in a wonderful environment because 90% of their power comes from hydropower, if not 100%. Renewable energy. No army to serve. They place maximum emphasis on family, peace, generosity. They are not highly ambitious. Neither is Denmark. The next slide, please. Neither is Denmark. Just a minute, please. Please give me 1 minute, please. Hey, Vito. Sorry for the break. And now come to Denmark, and while Costa Rica is marked by pleasure, Denmark's characteristic is marked by purpose. This country had lost in a war with Prussia in 1864, another maybe 156 years ago. Since then, they looked inwards and developed their own country from finance, healthcare, and safety. That's their national priority. They stress a lot on socializing. They give a lot of freedom to people, the students, for self-fulfillment. Somebody can start an educational career, and after 2 years he leaves, and then he or she comes back after having worked in some other place, and finds and changes the course. Tremendous amount of freedom, so that he or she designs the life accordingly. But what I would like to draw all of your attention to is the last bullet in Denmark. There is a room in family households in Danish families. This is called Hygge room, Hygge, Hygge. And there are books on it. If you go to the internet, you will find. And these rooms are especially characterized by no television, no smartphone, no newspaper, no magazines, just the family members sit together and gossip and just touch each other, hug each other, play games in the family. When is the last time you played a game all together with your family with the smartphone outside the room? We have to remember. So this Denmark is characterized by purpose, while Costa Rica is characterized by pleasure. Next slide is Singapore, is characterized by pride. The pillars on which the Singaporean culture of happiness resides is rules, rules, and rules. Strict rules and stringent punishments for violation of rules. People pay attention to 5 C's: driving a car, having a condo, not combo, it should be condominium, having a decent accommodation, lot of cash, credit cards, club membership, they are priorities. Good education, decent jobs, people are happy. 20 to 30% of Singaporeans are millionaires. The basic pillars: harmony, respect, and hard work. These are national priorities of happiness. I know common psychology tends to compare this with our status, but I'm not going into the negative aspects. Next slide, please. The fundamental dilemmas, I will skip this because I have crossed the time limit. Next slide, just touch upon. I will not. Just stop. Last but one bullet. Can one motivate oneself to become happy? I would rather request all of you to give a thought to yourself, not now. No discussion, sorry. Had we been face to face, we could have discussed. Now, scientists differ that there are some lifestyle changes that we can bring in to our lives. But if I, right from morning 6 o'clock till 12 o'clock at midnight, if I decide that I will be happy, every action of mine will be directed towards being happy, I believe that would not lead to pure happiness. There should be some lifestyle changes which are healthy, which are recommended, but sole dedicated efforts towards being happy may often lead to being unhappy and sad. Similarly, being over-optimistic that the future would be better, even if I jump from the 10th floor, I will not die because I am optimistic. Nothing done to the excess is advisable. Next. Final recommendation of happy pill. Just one after another. You don't have to wait for my signal, one after another. We have discussed more of them. Know your purpose. What am I supposed to do? Love someone. Next. We should have a defined inner circle of relatives, friends, acquaintances on whom we can confide. Next. Get out of our comfort zone. What I do better in my sweet zone, if I come out of it and then do something positive, definitely that would lead to longer duration happiness. Next. Engage in activity, physical, mental, all sorts of it. Next. Indulge in physical exercise. We all know that, and I'm sure maybe 70%, 80% of us present here, about 60 to 70 people are busy. Do this. Next. Look forward, plan and pursue. Next. Next one. Likeability. If you know that you are not likable to many, be conscious, look inwards, and try to find out the causes. Focus on others rather than yourself alone. Next. Very commonplace. This we often know, and particularly in winter, this 7 is often becoming 8 or 9 for me. Learn and practice meditation. Shape your surroundings, home, work, finance, social life, inner life. Plan it. Choose the right community with whom you mix. Number of people attending has come down to 64. This is the last but one slide. And this is a poem from Betty Anderson, which I would like to quote. That man is a success and a happy. Next. Just one after another. Slowly you can press. I don't have to say. Who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much. Press the button. Who has gained the respect of intelligent people and love of children. Who has accomplished his task. Who leaves the world better than he found it. By a flower, a poem, or a soul. Who never lacked appreciation of beauty or failed to express it. Who looked for the best in others and gave the best he had. So Betty Anderson. This is my last slide, ladies and gentlemen. If we have something to do, something to give, someone to love, and something to look forward to, nobody can stop us from being happy. The degree of happiness varies, we know. And so long we are adding life to our years, not simply years to our life, we are definitely happy. And we may be the neighbor's envy and owner's pride. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for those. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, Dr. Chakrabarti.
Yes, sir.
A wonderful, informative lecture.
Thank you.
Citing the various life examples in the happiness in the Halloween time, as you say, like that, Halloween time. If we know the roots of unhappiness and remove some of it,
Some of them.
we will certainly be able to attain the happiness in our life. No doubt about it.
Not only attaining, but also sharing happiness with others. That's another point.
That's right. You see, the anxieties, the threat, the fear, the uncertainties in this COVID pandemic period need to be transformed to opportunities, hopes, and challenges with a positive mindset, as you very rightly say, especially in this new normal situation.
Yes.
All of our faculty, staff, officers, and the students in our university, as you know, because you are one of the distinguished member of the Board of Governors of the university, we all are trying to do that collectively.
I know that. Thank you.
We have enjoyed your lecture and get motivated immensely. We are delighted. Right. Thank you.
I have a point. I would request Professor Dr. Namburi Ishwar Prasad to express his comment, because Ishwar has been my friend. He's the director of Kanpur Defense Organization. So I'm really honored since Ishwar is here. Ishwar, please.
First of all, let me thank Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti. Sir, I still remember the date that you have mentioned in the recent mail you had sent me. 7th December 2019. 2019. Little over 1 year. And I think Shantanu Da has become my Dada for almost as if I know him for 40 years. So that shows the amount of warmth that he has for people, which is, I think, is the most essential thing for happiness. You have warmth for others. That means you have plenty to share, plenty to absorb. Both are required. It's a balance between absorb from others, both happiness and their tough times and tough, tough thing that they're facing in their life, and also absorb and then talk to them in a way they get relieved. And also give something that they don't have. And Shantanu sir has got plenty of things that he can give to many people, because Some of us come from very good technical background, but we don't have what I call it a complete exposure about a life cycle. This is what he had brought it to me in the last one and a half year, that I had immediately became a fan of him. I mean, there used to be a word called "he is my hero." There are several people call that he is my hero. Amitabh Bachchan is our hero. So a lot of people say that. We love that certain kind of qualities. So let me tell you today what I learned from this 1 hour. In fact, just before the talk, I sent him a small message with 3 flowers because he loves flowers, and also he's fond of flowers that are taken from the live garden. So this is a flower I'd stitched for him, and I said, I'm looking forward to 1 hour marvelous talk. It was little more than 1 hour, I noticed. That shows his discipline. The 3 things I would like to take is the word ZEST, just, it stands for passion as well as enthusiasm and balance. Both 3 are required. The second one is love and affection. One has to have that for children as well as the loved ones. The more important for professional life are professionals like us who are still dangling in various things, that how much to share, how much not to share, because now we say that WhatsApp should not be there, Facebook should not be there, you should share this information, that information. I feel one has to be very, very careful in these times. We should not go back to 60s and 70s having technology and devices at our hand, but we are consumed in the cyber security and say that we cannot reveal ourselves. At the same time, I would not like to put up what I cook for my daughter to be shared on the WhatsApp message that a whole world knows. So I feel that there is a balance required. There is a word called tempering with caution. The metallurgist will know what is tempering means. Yes. Tempering is a toughening one. You make it people extremely brittle and strong, but without tempering, that structure, the steel structure, will not be useful. So tempering with caution is very, very important. I always equate this with the cricket, with the one which I used to watch passionately, compared with the Test cricket, One Day, and T20. So if you are thinking about 3 modes of life, then you play T20 in the younger days, where you are joyous, you can learn a lot, you do whatever you want, but temper with caution when you are in the professional life. That is where the one ODI will have to be done. You have limited resources, but lot to deliver in the 50 overs. Test cricket is what I reserve for what I call is a retirement, or when you got the maturity, then you play with your own pace, but keep the life, as he said, add life to the years. That is the most important thing. Let me conclude. It's a bit long, for such a fantastic audience. It's a long talk, a long disclosure, what I said. I had made Dada as my official advisor, as a honorary visiting scientist to DMSRDE, and also he is there in the several national committees now, who is going to write the white papers and classified documents. We all do it in the background for various ministries. And let me tell what we are planning at DMSRDE. This is I call the lab which is lying low for 40 years. And then what I say that we are mining now diamonds and gold from this small lab. And by identifying only 110 products, which are a right of this lab but never reach the large industry. And 67 of those products are already delivered to the Indian industry, and 33 we are on the verge of delivering in another 2 years, all of them fetching crores of rupees to the country. Now I had identified another 20 products which are export oriented. That's where Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti is going to help me to write international level documents where this is what the country requires. We require financial managers, we require technological managers, we require top technocrats who will be able to help this country to become a net exporter rather than net importer. Then only our country will flourish, and we should not गेहूं और चावल बेच के ये सेल फोन खरीदने वाला टेक्नोलॉजी से बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा. This is where we have to do. Aircrafts may not be made in India, but we have to make. If the 500 aircrafts are required in a year, we should make the aircraft in India. If your aircraft number of aircrafts are required for say 100 to 200 seater, we should be able to make it in India. We don't require Airbus. We don't require anything. We should do it in India. Then only it will give us a FE saving. As long as we do not do that, we'll be ever depending upon our longing for bullet trains, exorbitant number of cars and things like that. So it has to become advanced countries and look forward to the models to that one. And I feel we have fantastic 10 to 20 years with a stable government. Whatever the way, we have unlimited freedom in this country, but the freedom has to be tempered with the what you call responsibility as well as self-responsibility. And COVID, I feel, has taught us how to become self-disciplined, and then let us maintain that in the good times, learning from the worst times. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless all of you, and wonderful time I had in the last 1.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Dr. Ganguly there? Rajiv Ganguly.
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Dr. Ganguly, please take care. But before that, see whether our Honorable Chancellor is there on the line. So we may request him to say a few words in this. And then we can go for the question and answer sessions if there is any specific queries on this issue.
Chancellor sir, is Chancellor sir there?
He left some time back. I don't know whether he has come back.
Okay, otherwise look into the chat box if possible.
Sir, chat box, I want to read out lot of praises are there.
Okay.
I'd like to just tell a few things from the chat box.
Please do.
Our Honorable Ram Bandyopadhyay sir, yes sir, retired. He writes, excellent session, congratulations. Feel happy to join. Arun Mishra sir writes, thanks sir for such a precious talk on happiness. Thanks to my director, Dr. N.E. Prasad, who encouraged and informed me to attend this talk. Ovijit Korguptu writes, thank you again for your beautiful presentation and confidence-building information. Ex-director of Tata Steel, Pratik Deboniki writes that thanks a lot for your wonderful lecture. I have been enriched. We have really got some encouraging comments, and we have received one comment from our honorable member, Professor Basudev Burman, also in the group. He writes, excellent discourse by Professor Shantanu Chakrabarti. Hearty congratulations and best wishes to him. Congratulations to University of Engineering Management, Kolkata, for organizing such a nice program. Lastly, after listening to this discourse, I feel that I am a happy person.
Thank you very much.
That's why sir puts it forward. So that's all from the chat box, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chakrabarti, for giving us time, and it was a wonderful session.
Thank you very much.
Forward to hear from you in the coming future.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
And let me also congratulate and extend my special thanks to all the participants who are there in today's morning. The Kriti Sharkar, who was the anchor, Dr. Rajiv Ganguly, who was coordinating the entire programs. And though there was a little, the technical glitches are there during the entire programs, but it was, sometimes it is going beyond our control.
Yes.
So all of you will kindly excuse us for these small difficulties in between.
I would like to thank particularly three of my friends, very close friends, Shotyendranath Roy from our Jadavpur University, my batchmate, Parantap Chaudhary from Jadavpur University Mechanical 1972, and of course Shunanda Ganguly and Amit Ganguly and Professor Deepak Chaudhary and Ratna Chaudhary, they were there. So I can see these names appearing, so naturally it makes me a bit nervous as well as makes me happier. Thank you very much.
Okay, Yeah, before conclusion, I'd like to add, I've got two more messages. One from our Honorable Chancellor, sir, Professor Dr. Shantanu Chakrabarti has written that very good lecture. Thank you, Professor Shantanu Chakrabarti. He writes like that. And our Bonani Madam writes, excellent discussion. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
these were also the words of praises that has poured in. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
And this-
Thank you so much.
and
Have a
this-
good time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, 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 sir. Bye.
Only